happens when you purify your body, your mind, your spirit. Something miraculous. The body begins to heal itself. Welcome to the Medicine Girl podcast, where each week we explore new ways to heal your body from the root, igniting your inner healer. You are a medicine. And now, here's your host, Robin Stebbins.
Well, I'm here. I am actually waiting for my brother.
Okay.
So you got kind of half of us.
Okay.
I'm
And you
just waiting for my brother. He should be about 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
okay, yeah, there's no hurry. I can wait, no problem.
Right, how are you? All right.
Right, and so you guys don't do video, I guess.
Well, we've done a lot of videos where we've like shown our faces and we kind of like waved to the camera, and we've on our channel we've kind of gotten to the point where we've run out of things to do, things to talk about, because
Oh,
we seem to have covered quite a lot over the years.
right.
So we've kind of like we haven't been doing as many videos, and it's only been sort of turn of this year that we've kind of done shorter videos and just done audio
I see.
and
Okay.
no video, because we kind of like it's a hassle to put the screen up. It's a hassle to um set the webcam up.
Oh, you have to do all that. Okay.
Well, we use the mobile phone for the cam.
Okay.
So it's kind of like
It's
got
a
to do.
production.
Whereas it's easier just setting up the mic.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, because I think we seem to have quite similar interests in respect of chemistry, and
Yeah.
I think in some respects it's quite good to um, at some point. I mean, I don't know. You may want to do another talk where we do use video in the future. I don't know. All I'm saying is that it'd be good to share our desktop
Yeah.
and look at information, because it's the information that we rely on, that we've used, that we've looked at over the years,
Right.
where we sort of like think, well, this doesn't make sense, and you rely on the information to gain an understanding of what was happening,
Right.
even during the Enlightenment period, where you have the early chemists.
Right.
So it's good to show that information so you can share it.
Well, and that's really, I think, what I'm trying to get after is not just the people that are directly interested in science, but for the general public. Because I think once we get at the root of it, which I was starting to attack the periodic table of elements, which I'm now calling the periodic fable of elements.
Oh,
Because,
right, yeah.
yeah, because I think what the root is that I've seen is they believe they are, or I don't think they believe it, but they're telling us that they're isolating, they're teasing out of,
Mm.
say, dolomite or limestone, the magnesium inside it by heating it to 1,000 degrees Celsius and by adding different acids and chemicals and creating these different reactions. They're saying that they're isolating an element. And I'm saying you're just creating a chemical soup. There's no difference between that and the way they make vitamins and supplements. There's no difference between that and the way they make prescription drugs. You're not teasing out an isolated element that's floating around on the planet. And so that's how they can trick us, by putting it next to things that we can see are base elements like gold, silver. I can go out in the wild and find them, but I can't go out and find magnesium. And the article that I did, the one that I sent you.
I read through that, and it's quite interesting how we're certainly on the same page. You're sort of like looking at, though they're not really isolating this magnesium. It's kind of processing um, a mineral or a substance, and they're actually it's a bit like baking a cake.
Right.
You know, if you're gonna bake a carrot cake, for example, you obviously need carrots, but you've got to have some other things like sponge
Yeah.
and other like butter and other and milk and other ingredients to make the product. I mean, you mentioned about the periodic fable of elements. I
Yeah.
mean, we call it the periodic table of products
Right. Well, that's the
because
reason for it,
because
right?
they're actually produced, or a lot of these metals, like you mentioned, magnesium, it's just a result of
Right.
processing certain materials in a certain way for so long over certain temperatures and blah 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 blah.
Which is what alchemy is, right? It's telling us that you can create some novel substance out of other substances.
That's right, yeah, absolutely. And if you had like some salt
Yeah.
and you heated it up and you added um, a certain mineral to it, then it may form into a different product than if you added a different mineral to that salt.
Right.
So you're more it's how you're processing and what you're adding into the mix all depends upon what the product you have at the very end.
And that's how they can, which the other article was a periodic sales of elements. So that's how they can sell you these cheap chemicals and say it's a natural occurring element
Yeah,
in
basically, yeah. Yeah. I
like
mean, it's
iodine.
like they have to say that our bodies contain magnesium, iron, and all these kind of elements because it encourages you to accept, well, it encourages you to eat them in your foods, but it also encourages the food manufacturers to put those minerals and metals in the foods.
Right, because that's where the money lies. You can sell, supplements and make a killing, sure, but the real money lies in if you get your drug of choice, which would be whatever vitamin or supplement that they have lobbied enough to get
Yeah,
onto
yeah, yeah.
a food fortification, and that's where the real money is because now it's in everything, and the consumer can't say no. Not that they would. They've been tricked into thinking that, oh, this makes it healthier.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite an interesting. I mean, we could have quite an interesting conversation about fortification of food, and for example, do you know why they add iron to foods?
I mean, other than that it makes it metallic and they add iron shards.
Yeah, but do you know why? Have you encountered a reason why they add iron to foods?
Well, the only reason that I had put, which was when I did the colloidal silver article, also is that it makes you more conductive.
Right. Now, from what I've understood, many years ago, because a lot of this has occurred over history. It's happened in the past, where let's say people's understanding of um, the world and what metals are and how the body works wasn't very um, well understood. So they had these people who were anemic. Yeah, so there was a lot of people very pale, and like all these doctors are thinking, "Oh, what can we do?" So they give them anything to see what can make them get a bit more color in their cheeks. And they discovered by giving them iron, metallic iron, it made them it eased the anemic condition. So what they did, well, this is my understanding, is that they put as a blanket policy and gave it to everybody,
Right.
not just people who were anemic, which is what they should do. They should say, well, if you've got anemia, then you need to have some iron.
But you
But
don't actually, you don't need metal to repair iron. And if you look at the origin studies of how they're saying, well, if you had anemia, we gave you iron, you got better. They don't get better. They just change a lab value, and that's what they're after. They're after a blood lab value so they can say, hey, Pete, it's working. Look at your lab value has increased, but your health has not improved whatsoever.
Yeah, yeah. So you're looking at this whole kind of situation from a slightly more advanced angle than I am, because in some respects these people would have. It's a bit like cause and effect. You know, they give people metal in someone's diet, and then they say, "Oh, we've seen some progress, we've seen some improvement, so it must work." And in their understanding, that's good for them. So we'll do it this way.
Right, and that's how it got started with Merck
Yeah,
Pharmaceuticals inventing vitamin B1, saying that the white rice was poisoning people. Forget the whole, population of Asia for the last 1,000 years eating white rice, but
yeah,
the white rice is poison. So instead of eating brown rice, we're going to give you the solution, which is to take vitamin B1 made out of coal tar, ammonia, acetone, whatever else they've got in there.
yeah,
And then they get it approved as a natural fortification. So they're spraying it on cereals and pastas, and then they now have a gold mine. So now it's a gold rush, literally by these pharmaceutical giants to see what they can invent that's going to change a lab value, or they can make up a story
yeah,
like scurvy or beriberi and say, see, this is what's saving you, not the orange, not the apple, the chemical inside of it, hiding somewhere inside of it, which is
yeah,
their lie. And then it's off to the races because they can sell these cheap to make abundant chemicals. You can buy it by the ton for probably, what's in my bank account right now.
yeah,
And now they'll make 100x their initial investment.
yeah. See, you live in a country where they can put whatever chemical they want in food.
Right.
They can put it in there. And it's only until there's some sort of backlash or some side effects that people raise, would they then kind of think, oh, let's not add this particular stuff to food.
Right.
Whereas I live in a country where it's tested beforehand, so they can't, if it's found to be of danger to health, they won't add it to the food.
Hmm.
So we've kind of, I mean, we're, I suppose, living in the UK and living in well, and the being close to the EU, we do feel we have better protections when it comes to food and food health
For
than
now,
you do.
yeah.
And I suppose I think for this conversation that we're going to have, because I think you're how can I call it? I mean, it's interesting how the conversation can be broken down into, you know, the things that we ingest as part of our diet, and whether or not, and the reasons for that, and whether or not A, do we need them?
Right.
B, um, is it there to make money for the food producers, or is it another way? Because I know it's like in the war or the beginning of the Second World War, they synthesized ammonia um, because the Germans couldn't have access to what's that? They use it. They needed it for gunpowder to make ammunition, but
Oh,
so they had to synthesize ammonia, which was then a precursor to creating more fertilizer, and more fertilizer meant that they could grow more crops, which meant they could feed more people.
right.
So in some ways, without the inclusion of these chemicals that man has produced, we wouldn't have a lot more food on the shelves.
Right. Well,
So
and
whether or not that's a bad thing or not, could you look at it as a bad thing, or I mean, I suppose some people could look at it as a good thing. So I'm not trying to be, how can I call it, pro pharmaceutical companies or pro food companies. From my point of view, there are some kind of, well, man would love to grow the perfect banana and the perfect cabbage, you know,
Yeah.
so that he could sell, because that's what human beings like. So I don't know whether you want to focus on those or whether you just want to stick with the chemistry. My
Well,
brother's here now, so
we can just sort of see where it goes. I personally like to just point out evidence-based reality, and that's all I write about. I don't write about this study claimed that 87% of people got better by taking iron shards or iodine. I just look at since we're talking about gunpowder, you can look at iodine. Iodine was invented by using the surplus of gunpowder after the war. I can't remember which war now, but they had all this gunpowder, and so they looked to ways that they can sell it back to the public since they're not going to be using it in battle. And that was what they used for iodine and how they told you it was essential for the thyroid. But in essence, though, and this is what you're just mentioning,
yeah,
it harms the thyroid. It creates a disaster for the thyroid because if the thyroid is being poisoned with the iodine, it's not going to function properly. So it's either going to
yeah,
be hypo or hyper, which is a great, you know, secondary market for the functional medicine side because every single practitioner, homeopaths, naturopaths, chiropractors, you name it, are going to tell you your
mm,
thyroid needs and makes iodine, but iodine is made by burning kelp. This is how they first did it, adding the sulfuric acid. That little violet plume is what they call iodine. So they could make the same thing with gunpowder.
yeah.
Doesn't have to be kelp. We're not talking then about the same thing. We're just talking about mixing ashes and acids and telling you somehow that's essential for your body. But why I'm having this conversation with you is not
Oh,
just
right, yeah.
to geek out on chemistry, but to say those actually harm people. And I can show you how they harm people because this is what iodine, what they're calling iodine, does to the thyroid. And people are under this mistaken impression that if it's on the periodic table of elements, as a number somewhere, it's a
Mm.
natural occurring element inside nature that we need. That's why, the piece I wrote on magnesium got 70,000 views, and people were outraged that I had dare take away their
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
because they need it for their leg cramps. But my intention is to say, well, maybe you should address the fact that you have leg cramps instead of taking a muscle sedative that takes away the symptoms, but you haven't done anything to correct the underlying root of the problem, which is where the actual medicine lies.
Yeah.
Removing.
Me and my brother, we don't go, we haven't gone much into health
Yeah.
and chemistry and health. I think the only thing that we've really touched on is in relation to oxygen,
Yeah.
because we've looked at all uh, the chemists like Lavoisier and Priestley and all these people who discovered and played around with oxygen. And we've looked at how oxygen's used, not just in kind of submarines, but also we understand how they worked in hospital, how they use it in hospitals. And we've got an oxygen concentrator that someone with a breathing problem would use.
Yeah.
And we know that it's dangerous for you.
Yeah.
We've looked at is it an oxygen therapist?
Yeah. And
Respiratory therapists, and they actually can indicate that it's oxygen's a drug. And there's lots of information about oxygen to us that says that, well, in our view, it's people shouldn't really be using it, but
yeah.
but
Well,
that's the only thing that we cover with health.
And that's, I mean, it's all related because you can't take out one piece of the ecosystem without affecting the entire system. And that's how I found out about you was through the oxygen concentrator video because as a home health nurse and doing hospice, I've used oxygen concentrators, so-called,
Yeah.
and it never made sense to me. How is this little small suitcase producing oxygen?
Oh,
Or,
we can. It
or
can. It can produce an oxygen, uh, an oxygen-like gas stream
yeah.
through its mechanical processing of air.
Hmm. Well,
So
maybe you
it,
can
it
describe
can do it. Sorry.
maybe you can describe then what that what it's producing, how that's a gas that somehow changes the results on a pulse oximeter, but is not necessarily something that's beneficial to somebody's health.
Well, I mean, um, a pulse oximeter only determines the amount of, say, if you've got one that you got on the end of your finger
Yeah,
or on your earlobe, it'll only detect the amount of light, the infrared light that can pass through that part of the body. It's not testing for the amount of oxygen in the blood.
right.
So, I mean, you could say, well, it's giving me a reading of whatever, but I can say, but it's only determining how much light can pass through that part of the body. And to
Right.
me, that's not detecting oxygen, is it? That's just determining how much infrared light can pass through that part of the body. And the device also has also been it's all been calibrated. It's been the software behind it that underpins it is based on the understanding that there's oxygen in the blood.
Right.
So I can't accept that a pulse oximeter determines oxygen levels in the blood.
I'm so glad that you said that because that is what I mean, I have found that the more you find out what they're using for testing, and I did the whole blood pressure article,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it has nothing to do with the way the body works. It's just something they can manipulate. So if you put the oxygen on the nasal cannula and you put the oxygen
Mm.
on, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
as the oxygen afterwards it goes up. So you can say, see, it's working. But
Yeah, I mean, having breathing in oxygen, which is a produced gas through mechanical, or I mean, all chemical means. Um, if you breathe that in, the body will react to it
hmm
because it's something that the body isn't supposed to be breathing in. Um, one of the symptoms of breathing in oxygen is that your nose and your lips around your mouth will dry
hmm
because what in our we've done lots of things with oxygen and we've found that oxygen is has a drying effect. It
right.
dries things out. So when it comes in, because it's hygroscopic, is it? No, hydrophobic. It's hydrophobic. It doesn't like water. So it will push. It's a good, if you want to dry something out, you just put oxygen through it on it, and it will dry out in no time. Like sulfuric acid, like your chlorine stream. Yeah, it's like when they produce chlorine gas, they dry because it's they using speedballs. Because they produce it through electrolysis, or one way they produce chlorine gas is through the electrolysis of salt brine.
Right.
The
Yeah.
gas is wet. It's a
Uh-huh.
wet gas that comes off at the anode, and one way in which they dry that gas is they pass it through sulfuric acid because sulfuric acid contains a lot of oxygen, and it's that oxygen that dries out the chlorine
Right.
base, and so it can separate the moisture from the gas.
And so you're saying though that the air that I'm breathing in and breathing out right now does not contain oxygen that we're talking about that they're making inside these oxygen concentrators, or that I'm going to get in the containers, the gas containers that people use if their doctor says you have COPD and now I have to prescribe you oxygen.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't contain the air you're breathing in now does not contain oxygen in our understanding. Well, it can't. The air can't be proved to contain oxygen. Nobody can prove to you that there's oxygen in the air. Well, what would somebody do to prove to you that there's oxygen in the air? They could get an oximeter.
Yeah,
You know, a digital oxygen sensor. Sorry, you know, I mean, we've got an oxygen sensor, and you've got to understand how the device works, because it's always, when you calibrate the device, it always goes to 20.9, and in our view, that it could just go to 0.
right.
It's just the way it's calibrated to make people think there's 20.9 percent in the air when you switch it on.
Right. It's a sleight of hand, so they can
It
say
is, yeah.
they can.
Whereas it could just be set to 0. There's no oxygen in the air. And then when you actually put it, if you produced oxygen, then you can actually get a true value.
Right.
If you put a sensor in a container filled with oxygen up to an oxygen cylinder and just turn the tap on, you'll see the reading rise, because it's actually detecting the oxygen.
Right.
And as you know, what other ways? Come on, you must think of another way they test for oxygen. You know,
The
the
arterial
rusting.
blood gases with
Well, they don't. Well, I mean, there's many ways in which they think oxygen is around, like rust, for example, oxidation. Oxidation.
You
You know the lead, aluminium oxide that forms on. You know you have lead activation layers. Oh, I don't know whether you've got it out where you live, but you got you can have lead flashing on your roofs.
right.
Where
Yes.
the tiles meet, the tiles of a certain part of the roof meet a gable end, or
Yeah.
an extension or another part of the roof. And they use lead because it's malleable and it's good for roofing, for construction. Now, they say that the oxygen in the air will react with that lead, which will make the lead turn white. And it's called like a passivation layer.
Uh-huh.
And you can even buy some passivation oil, so you can treat the lead if you don't want it to go white. You know, if you want it nice silvery lead color, you can just put some passivation oil over it, so it doesn't turn white. But in our understanding, the only reason why it goes white is because it's the moisture that's in the air reacts with the lead, and
Right.
it breaks down the lead. The moisture breaks down the lead, and the first part of breakdown is the formation of that passivation layer where it turns white.
Right.
And it's very similar with copper roofs.
Right.
You know, a lot of people will say, you know, the verdigris. You see, copper roofs are green, can turn green. Statue of Liberty.
Right.
The coppers turn green, and you think, well, that's it, the copper reacting with the oxygen in the air. But it's not. It's the moisture that's breaking down the copper, and in so doing, the copper forms this passivation layer that protects the copper from degrading even more.
Okay.
But it's not got nothing to do with oxygen.
Right.
Yeah. Nothing,
Yeah,
absolutely nothing.
Yeah, so our point is essentially is that it's very difficult to identify that it's the oxygen, it's any oxygen in the air that causes decomposition of any materials.
Yeah, I mean our oxygen concentrator, if you switch it on, because it's got an air inlet, will draw the air in, and it's got a feed that goes to the patient, but it's also got an exhaust stream that comes out of the rear of the machine. That exhaust stream that comes out of the rear of the machine, well, it's supposed to be nitrogen, because it's supposed to separate the air into oxygen and nitrogen.
Right.
but we found that the exhaust stream is exactly the same as the air that goes to the patient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can relight a glowing splint.
It can relight a glowing splint. So it's not an oxygen concentrator. It is not an air separation unit. It's not separating the air. It's just processing the air to create an oxygen-like airstream.
Yeah.
So,
Which shows that there's no oxygen in the air.
Yeah.
There can't be.
and then you can't have anything flammable around these oxygen tanks or people that are on oxygen. They're not supposed to smoke around their oxygen. So
Well, it's not flammable. Well, it's not flammable. It's comburant. It aids in combustion.
It'll just make a flame glow brighter.
It's not flammable. You can't light it and it'll just explode.
You can't burn oxygen.
It will just aid in combustion.
I see. So that would be another way to tell, though, that if the surrounding air contains oxygen versus what you're producing in this oxygen concentrator as a gas.
Sorry, Robin. Can you just repeat that?
Sure. So that would be another way, though, that we could determine if the air that I'm breathing now naturally outside when I walk around is different in properties than what they're producing in these oxygen concentrators that then would be, what do you say?
Well,
yeah.
All it's doing, all it's doing is making you understand what air actually is and what oxygen actually is, because it's quite to say that oxygen is a constituent of the air is quite a clever concept,
right?
Because it's quite easy to fool people into thinking that oxygen is a constituent of the air. But all you do is you process the air into because we all know the qualities of air. You can light a match and the match will burn.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's say if we put a larger amount of that air and concentrate it into a much smaller space and then light the match in that kind of space, it will glow brighter.
Right.
And that's all you're doing. That's all oxygen is. It's just concentrated air. Dry air. That's all it is.
So the moisture's just been removed.
And it's been concentrated.
Right.
Yeah.
It's got to be concentrated because you won't have the
oxygen properties.
You won't have the oxygen properties.
I see. And then how is it that it can be harmful to a person that is being told they need to be on oxygen therapy for whatever disease they have? They were a smoker, or they have COPD, whatever it is.
Well, right, okay, right. Because we've had conversations with people online about this, because it's quite a sensitive issue, because we do know that lots of people are prescribed oxygen to help with breathing difficulty, respiratory problem.
Oxygen therapy, isn't it?
Our understanding is that when someone's lungs are kind of damaged,
right,
there isn't much that the medical profession can actually do to help you, because the damage is done. You can't just expect your lungs to get better overnight. You can't expect your lungs to have a new lease of life, especially with the process of aging as well, or especially with the smoking over 40 years. You can't expect that your lungs will be as good as new when they were 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So man is limited in what he can do to help people with certain health problems. And in our understanding, they prescribe the oxygen because it's the next best thing that they can think of to give someone, because it's better to give them that than nothing at all. Sorry, we can't help you. If you had a patient that goes to the doctor and says, "Doctor, I can't breathe very well."
Right.
The doctor says, well, sorry, there isn't really much we can do for you. The patient's going to think, well, you're not very good. You're not very good, are you? We haven't got much faith in you, in your profession. So
Well, I
the,
mean,
the op-
I have to interject,
oh
right?
yeah, go on.
Because I have been inside the medical industrial complex for now 38 years, working as a
Yeah,
manager, working directly with patients, seeing what's prescribed. And it isn't that the doctor wants to truly help. They have exactly what they've been programmed to do, and it's usually to make the person slowly worse. And they know this because, if you two are working in a profession and you see no one gets better, not one person, everyone gets slightly worse over time, then
mm,
you know what you're doing. And so there are other ways that I have seen that are beneficial to people that have lung issues. You're right. One of them is you need to take time, but others are breathing exercises, getting
mm,
rid of the toxins that are entering the body. A lot of people,
yeah,
even though they know they have lung issues, they don't seem to care that they're lighting scented candles inside their house. They don't seem to care that they're spritzing around air fresheners all over the place. So they're further damaging a damaged lung. And those are the things their MD could go over with them, but they don't. They just throw them on oxygen,
yeah,
give
yeah,
them an inhaler, make them worse on purpose. I'm going to say that because I see it over and over again. And no, but
yeah,
and anytime I interject something and I'll say, there's other natural ways we could look at this. What about the scented candles? Could you stop using those? It's about the same parts per billion as running a diesel generator in your house,
mm,
not to mention whatever those chemicals are to make the pumpkin spice smell. But I get in trouble for that because the doctor says, no, that doesn't have anything to do with it. This is all about
yeah.
whatever the initial insult, or it's bad genetics, or it's heredity, because it has to be about something this person has no control over now. They have to be this innocent lamb to the wolf of the medical industrial complex to say,
Fine, yeah,
make it better. I'll do whatever you say.
yeah. I mean, I can understand your point of view,
Yeah,
uh, but because it sounds more like the lifestyle of the person, how they live their life in their home,
right,
the chemicals that they're exposed to, that they're inhaling.
right.
I mean, we've got what's that device that we've got that measures the parts per million?
Oh,
You can get devices,
particle detector.
particle
Air
detectors.
particle detector.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can get those for your room to determine, how much kind of crap you've got actually floating around in your room. Um, but to me, is that to do with someone's lifestyle, or is that someone that when someone's going to the hospital's only dealing with that particular condition.
right,
They're not, are they really, is it their job
right.
to be dealing with, the fact that they use scented candles and blah,
Yes,
blah,
it
blah,
is
blah.
their job. Yes, it is their job because otherwise the person is not going to get better. If you don't address the root cause, the person is definitely not going to heal. So
Mm,
medicine is mitigating symptoms. So you can say, look, you guys, it worked. Symptoms are gone, but you haven't addressed the underlying problem. So your person gets progressively worse throughout the years until, you know, it's at
yeah,
the end
yeah, yeah,
of life
yeah,
and they own the person and all of the things that they're supposedly keeping them alive with.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I fully understand your point, Robin. Because I'm kind of familiar with, even in this country, you go into a hospital and they like take ownership of you,
Yes.
and
They do what they
they
think's
do
best
what they think is best
for
for
you.
you.
They've got agendas,
Um,
they've got money, backers, they do
yeah,
set procedures. So obviously, if you come up with an alternative procedure, they don't like it. Obviously, they
yeah,
prefer you to stick with what they advise.
Right.
But so we can understand, the hospital only giving a set like oxygen. Oh, let's give them oxygen. Let's give them oxygen.
Right.
because
It's the
they've also got that oxygen in the air
right.
myth that they want to perpetuate. So that's one of the reasons why they've got to give these people that kind of treatment, because it's their science. It's, you know,
Exactly. The
they
cult of
can't just
science.
not do it and say, okay, you got a good point, Robin, about the scented candles or whatever. How about opening up a window? You have get some
Yeah.
fresh air in. You
Right.
know, people could be doing this, they could be advised to do this, but they're not, simply because the
And
science
and
Right.
also and
the society
yeah,
we're living in, you know.
and also there are financial constraints, because a lot of people in the past, they were just recommended to go and breathe in the mountain air for a month or whatever, if you've got a breathing problem. Whereas nowadays, a lot of people can't afford to, go to the Swiss Alps, or, go to a mount wherever you are, a mountainous region, or by the sea or whatever.
Right.
So they give them this oxygen concentrator.
But it's like years ago when, if you must have heard of Florence Nightingale,
Of course.
of course. I think she was a great proponent of opening the windows, come on, fresh air for everybody in the wards. Whereas,
Sunlight, fresh
you
air,
know,
good
fresh air,
nutrition.
absolutely. Whereas now you can't even open the window.
But
Why?
you,
Get
but
lots of fresh air in, you know. Everyone will start moaning, oh, it's cold. And the nurses are saying, what on earth are you doing? Close the window.
right. Well,
You're bringing disease and
Oh,
but
right.
contamination.
Yeah.
these doctors, though, they could do both. They could easily send you home on your oxygen to say, let's start you out at 2 liters, 1.5 liters, just to help get over this crisis of you not being able to breathe. But we slowly want to wean you off of it and do all of these other things. Get some fresh air in your house, go outside in the sunlight, get rid of the all of the
Oh,
toxins. The car automobiles in the summer are really toxic. So the person, when they're in that lung crisis, there's a lot of things that they could do in addition. It wouldn't take the MD any time to have a little piece of paper printed up to, like, here's some potential toxins for your lungs, and they have the oxygen to go home with. So it's two birds with one stone. You actually could start the person on a trajectory of healing, which is what I'm talking about more, is that, yeah, it's great to understand science, the cult of science, I call it, because they can prove that, okay, there's oxygen in the air. What we're doing is we're making you oxygen, getting rid of all the other stuff that's in the air. So all you have is pure oxygen, and that's going to get you better. And they believe that. And it never gets the person better. In fact, it usually degrades their lungs over time.
Yeah,
yeah, but they've got that they get paid. So if they go against the grain and they start advising alternative
Yes.
treatments or whatever, and their bosses get wind of it, they'll get the boot.
yeah.
So
It's our,
People drop it.
it's our understanding that the body, it's not a question of oxygen in the blood, or the body needs oxygen. It's more of a question that the body needs water, needs moisture.
Right.
And the lungs, we watched a video of this guy dissecting some pig's lungs, which are very similar to human lungs. And when he kind of shows them on the video, you can see they're very moist, they're wet,
Yeah.
which means that they're kind of like exposed to a lot of moisture, a lot of water. So you kind of think to yourself, now, is it the purpose of the lungs to actually, when you breathe in, you're breathing in the air and moisture that's in the air, and then it's the lungs' job to obtain that moisture, capture that moisture, and feed it into the body so that it can pressurize the body.
Right.
So we've always looked at it as though like if you go into a steam room is much better for you if you've got a breathing problem than breathing oxygen.
in our view,
In our view,
in
that's
our
our
opinion,
view.
you know. We're not saying we're right or wrong here. We're just saying that.
No, I've seen it. So for
I agree.
the time I work in hospice, and when patients, they don't have to take any more of the prescribed medications from the medical system. And so people that have breathing issues, what I have recommended is putting a couple leaves of mullein in, or a leaf of eucalyptus in some boiling distilled water or actual natural spring water, and using the steam. And every single
Yeah,
time I
yeah,
see them improve.
yeah.
And what happens though is, in this country, if somebody has a cough, everyone around them will say, you need to go to see the doctor. And
Right.
if they've been smoking marijuana, or they're smoking cigarettes, or they're vaping, they have a buildup in their lungs. And this is trying to escape with this mucus. So they need to cough it out. But what we do here is we stop the cough with, whatever, cough suppressant, that either over the counter or
Mm.
prescription, which stops the coughing, which then creates that buildup over time. So if it was just a cough, trying to get rid of some of the buildup carcinogens from the marijuana or the cigarettes, it's now staying in there year after year after year, until now you have an issue where those little alveoli sacs are not exchanging the necessary, well, you're saying it's moisture. I've
That's moisture, yeah, in our view,
So
yeah.
if you've created basically a seal in these sacs, so you can't
Yeah.
exchange anything
I
anymore.
mean, smoking is no different in our, well, in my opinion, smoking is no different to breathing in oxygen, because
Oh, wow.
the smoke dries out the lungs.
Wow.
Is it? Would you agree with that?
Well,
That smoking is no different than breathing in oxygen,
well, I mean,
because the smoke's going to dry out the lungs.
yeah, we've well, I can imagine what a 40, 50 a day smoker's lungs would be like after about 30,
Brittle.
40 years. Very
Brittle.
bro. If I had the lung in my hand, it would just crumble.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
Because very
dried out.
dried out. It's
It's
dried
dried
out.
out.
But it should be moist.
Which is, so people can get a visual. I had a 96-year-old hospice patient that had smoked about a pack and a half to 2 packs a day since she was 10 years old, 96 now. And when she
Wow.
snatched her finger, the whole finger turned black and crumbled up until it came off, because she,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So she had nothing exchanging, no moisture from the all the cigarette smoking.
Yeah. I've got to say she did well for 96. Yeah,
I,
well for
it's amazing.
96. Wow.
The human body is amazing when, we don't poison it. And then
Yeah.
even when you do, it's incredibly resilient.
Yeah. I mean, we often think that, because we watch some old black and white movies and this kind of stuff, and we read up about the actors, and then you begin to see how many of these actors have lived well into their 90s, and you tend to think, well, it is quite easy to live a long life.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people
I think
do
it is easy.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I think longevity is just it's just looking after yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, and doing the right thing.
Doing the right things. That's all it is.
Doing the right things, and even when you don't do the right things and you smoke a pack and a half or 2 packs a day, your body can still somehow,
Yeah, you can.
some way, keep up, if I think, you're not in constant fear and anger.
It's no different in our, well, in my opinion, smoking is no different to breathing in oxygen.
Oh, wow.
The smoke dries out the lungs.
Wow.
Is it? Would you agree with that?
Well,
That smoking is no different than breathing in oxygen,
well, I mean,
because the smoke's going to dry out the lungs.
yeah, well, I can imagine what a 40, 50 a day smoker's lungs would be like after about 30,
Brittle.
40 years. Very
Brittle.
bro. If I had the lung in my hand, it would just crumble.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just dried out.
It's dried out. But it should be moist.
Which is, so people can get a visual. I had a 96-year-old hospice patient that had smoked about a pack and a half to 2 packs a day since she was 10 years old, 96 now. And when she snatched her finger, the whole finger turned black and crumbled up until it came off because she,
yeah.
right? So she had nothing exchanging, no moisture from all the cigarette smoking.
Yeah. Well, I've got to say she did well for 96, or well for
It's amazing.
96. Wow.
The human body is amazing when, we don't poison it. And then even when you do, it's incredibly resilient.
Yeah, I mean, we often think that, because we watch some old black and white movies and there's this kind of stuff, and we read up about the actors, and then you begin to see how many of these actors have lived well into their 90s, and you tend to think, well, it is quite easy to live a long life.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people
I think
do
it is easy.
Yeah, I think it's. I think longevity is just it's just looking after yourself.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, and doing the right thing.
Doing the right things. That's all it is.
Doing the right things, and even when you don't do the right things and you smoke a pack and a half or 2 packs a day, your body can still somehow keep up if, I think, you're not in constant fear and anger and irritation about how, the state of the world and all of the lies we've been told, because I think that creates more harm in the body than anything else.
Well, there are a lot of people who, I mean, I know someone who's very kind of, they're out to kill us, they're out to pollute us or poison us and this, that and the other. And I kind of I mean, I know where she's coming from, but I tend to think that, there's always a good and bad side to everything. You have to look at it from the good side as well as the bad side.
Yeah.
And granted, man's been putting chemicals in foods for years.
Yeah.
Absolutely years. And, there's people who've been alive, who's lived their lives till they're into their 90s.
Yep. Exactly.
So it can't affect. Why is it it's affecting some people, not others?
I know. I think it's attitude. I think it's your belief system. Those are blissfully ignorant of all of these chemicals and harms and all the disasters that they're putting in our skies.
Yeah. I mean, well,
they're not upset.
Are you? Oh, I don't want
to. I mean, we have. We used to do some flat Earth talks on the street, and we used to know a guy. He used to promote a certain newspaper, which was all about not conspiracy stuff, but alternative thinking, and he used to talk about chemtrails and everything like that, and we kind of think, well. That they do cloud seed. They do put salts in the sky to make it rain, because salts are hygroscopic. They'll attract moisture, but for us to think that they put chemicals, up in the air purposely to control people and
passenger aircraft
or whatever, we think, well, there are such things as condensation trails, and it's very difficult to actually, for some people, it's difficult to talk a bit of rational, common sense with some people, because they think, oh, look, there you go, there's some chemtrails up there, and you think, but
how do you know that?
And we like to stick with something that's kind of tangible. That's
if you see a trail in the sky left by an aircraft, how do you know that it's a chemtrail or a contrail when you're just observing it? How do you know that?
Well, you don't.
You don't know. You can only assume. You can only guess or come up with the hypothesis.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
you guys, as I look at evidence-based reality, and so and they spray it in crisscross patterns here, and and then the sky will turn hazy, and then it gets cold in 2 hours. I've seen that over and over and over, but I also don't see insects dying. I don't see small birds dying. I don't see small children getting sick. I don't see the whole population getting sick after they're doing whatever they're spraying. Whether it's weather modification or, I don't know, because I can't test.
Because one of the things humans don't do, and that's they don't test how moisture is how moisture behaves in the atmosphere.
Right.
How does it behave in the atmosphere?
Well, you can't even see it.
You know, sometimes you can't even see it. You know, we have a view that the clouds, if you see a cloud in the sky, that's made of salt,
Yeah.
and it's the salt that attracts the moisture. And sometimes you can see a cloud, and then all of a sudden it's gone. It's disappeared.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to a salt in a solution. Sometimes it comes out of solution, precipitates out of solution, and then it disappears.
Right.
So, which made us think that clouds are made of salt, and it's the salt that attracts the moisture, which makes it rain.
Yeah.
So you know, we have sometimes a completely different understanding to a lot of people about the world we live in.
But that's the most important thing, what you just said, is that none of us know.
Yeah, that's right.
Nobody knows. And so to claim that it's doing X, Y, or Z, or that it's harming everything, we have to still be observant. But, you know, again, not to get in that state of frustration, anxiety, worry. You know, I know a lot of people won't go outside if they think there's been chemicals that are sprayed in the sky.
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, but it's the I mean the opposite.
They could always go out with a gas mask, couldn't they?
Right.
Well, the opposite to that is like Chernobyl. You know, there's people who are saying, yeah, Chernobyl was a nuclear power station that had a disaster in the 80s, I think. And the whole area has been cordoned off. No humans are allowed, and yet wildlife is thriving. It's thriving in Chernobyl.
Yeah. Yes.
So how can they be cloud seeding with all these dangerous chemicals when you're not seeing ill people? And you know, the opposite of that is, if Chernobyl was that dangerous, why aren't the animals dying?
Exactly. Or having, you know, miscarriages or
basically.
birth defects and
population wipeout.
But and
there are a lot of people, sorry to interject there, Robin, but there are a lot of people who fearmonger.
Yeah, you're right.
And you know, you've got to be a bit calm, bit composed, rational when you try and understand something.
Yes.
You can't just go off, you know, they're killing us, you know.
Well, they don't want to kill their customers, that I know. So I know, and they don't want to start a stampede. So if they were spraying stuff in the sky and, you know, half a city died, people would start to.
Well, then you'd know that they
are. No, there's something off. I don't think it's great, but you know.
And you've got to remember that people get ill anyway.
Right.
You know, it's natural for people to get ill. You know, it's part of being human.
That's exactly right. And I mean, I haven't gotten ill because I haven't gone to a doctor, and I am no longer consuming things that were making me ill. I noticed what things were making me ill. I stopped taking vitamins and supplements. I stopped drinking a glass of red wine every night. I stopped drinking the caffeine, and I stopped getting sick. But that was me. I have patients that are on 30 different prescription drugs, you know, half a handful of vitamins and supplements. They don't ever drink water. They drink Gatorade and eat Pop-Tarts, and they're still thriving. So it's not just this black and white. But I think it's
very difficult. It's very difficult to. I mean, I suppose a good analogy for this, what we're talking about, is that woman who was 96 that you mentioned. I mean, she'd be a great advert for tobacco companies because she's lived till she's 96.
Yeah,
you know, it should be a fantastic advert.
But she never said, oh, I really need to quit smoking. Like I hear everyone, this mantra of like, oh, I've got to quit smoking. And cancer, they call it cancer sticks. She was from Germany. This was her culture. She loved it.
Yeah.
She didn't have one guilty bone in her body about doing it. And I think that's a different approach for whatever reason.
So are you suggesting that it's the mindset
I
of a
figured so.
smoker
Yeah.
that can
Yes, I am.
that can help overcome the any
bad effects.
the effects of smoking. Yeah.
Right, because I mean, it's more a matter of, casting spells on yourself, constantly saying everything in your diet is poison, and even the organic food is poison. And our bodies are incredibly resilient, the people that I just mentioned. So if you're even approximating 80% healthy, you're still on a really, really good trajectory as long as you keep your mental status out of fear and anger and worry and anxiety.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, it's all about mind over matter.
Because don't you create, when you have anxiety, it's a chemical process going on inside your body. So you're releasing adrenaline, cortisol, whoever knows what else inside your body. So you're basically creating your own chemtrails inside your body, if that's
Yeah,
what.
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, you're creating your own chemtrail within your body.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. But a lot of it is, I mean, our understanding of the body is all to do with pH.
Mm.
Salt and acids is the key with your body, and because that's what the body does. Your body's made of salts and acids.
Right.
And it's what you eat can affect those levels, those pH levels. Granted. Right. But
well, can I ask you about then people that are on these high protein diets, especially in the United States? All anyone ever asks you, I don't care who you are, where do you get your protein if you're eating mostly plant-based? Or people are on carnivore diets where they eat nothing but bacon, butter, and meat.
Oh, right. Well, I think I've dropped myself in there, only in the sense that I like I said, we haven't really gone into health and diets and things like that.
But in terms of pH, what are we thinking with that? And just
that would be down to the person to determine what their pH levels are. It's like your homeostatic levels, they're kind of in some ways they've got to be linked to pH levels.
Right.
So if you're agitated, you might have you may not have a neutral pH level, So I don't. I mean, I to be honest with you, it's something that we haven't really looked into. I'm just
if when somebody is on a renal diet, they're first told to restrict protein because it creates a lot of ammonia inside the body, which would be more basic, right? Not more acidic.
Well, there you go. So there's an example where it's the pH, but again, I'd always think that the body has to be a kind of. I know rainwater or snow.
Yeah.
Has a pH of about just below neutral, 6.5. So could we say that that's what the body should be at?
Okay.
As a generic kind of datum point.
Yeah.
It makes sense to think that if the natural world around you or the water around you, clean water is 6.5, rainwater 6.5. Obviously, if as long as you're not living near a furnace or some kind of factory, but if it's clean rainwater, then if it's 6.5, then should the body be at that level as well? Because it seems to be natural.
Right, makes sense to me. And then, do you have thoughts on people that like to take baking soda without really testing their pH, but just see it as a cure for certain diseases?
Well, again, your body's all about salts.
Okay.
I know how they determine carbon dioxide levels in the body is to look at your salt acid. That's all the pH levels. That's all they do, and that's with carbon dioxide levels in the body.
Right.
So again, if they're looking at pH, have it a 6.5. I think is quite good.
Yeah.
Quite a good level. I think it's probably an area, like I said, it's an area, Robin, that we haven't really kind of
Right.
touched, to be honest.
Well, I don't want to put you on the spot.
I'm on the spot. I'm right on the spot now. I'm
How do
going
you
all red.
in
I'm
your
going all red.
6.5?
And my brother's looking at me, with his rolling his eyes.
Well, how do you guys stay in your 6.5 pH?
Well, I'm just relating it to the natural world. You know, if you think that, if you consider that water, fundamental aspects of human life, you know, if the pH is about 6.5, then that should reflect what your body should be
Right.
at.
I get that.
I think that's quite a reasonable thing to put forward.
How would
I
we
mean,
get to that 6.5? Would it be through diet? Would it be through fasting? Would it be through drinking spring water and eating plant-based and minimizing all the other things?
mm. So now you're putting me on the spot now, because you're making me into a dietitian,
No.
and I'm
A
not
dietitian
really.
doesn't know how we should eat. I'm of the mind that
Go on, what are you of the mind?
I'm of the mind as I look to Mother Nature as the blueprint. So I don't see
Yeah.
wild animals following somebody else's diet. They just eat when they're hungry. They eat what's available in season in
Yeah.
their vicinity. They don't ever overeat. You don't ever see a fat, slovenly wild animal. And so if you're in homeostasis, you'll know what to eat, when to eat, because it will taste good, it will look good to your eyes, and your ideal body will be within 10 pounds of what you should be doing. And so you have energy, you wake up rested, you don't need chemicals to stay awake. That's,
I mean,
I would say you're in, homeostasis.
I think a lot of people do have a fundamental knowledge of food. You know, the different types of food.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the protein, you've got the carbohydrates, you've got the fats. You know, I think a lot of people are familiar with those types of foods. And in some ways, to have a balanced diet, it's good to have them all.
Right.
You know, within reason, of course, because as soon as you start having more fats, then that's going to make you put on more weight.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, I read an article about a fruitarian, and
Right.
all he ate was fruits. And you looked at the guy, because they took a photo of him in the paper, and you looked at him and you think, oh, he could do with a bit of meat on his body, to build him up, because he just looked skinny as a rag.
Yeah.
And you think, there are benefits of having protein. There are benefits of, one thing that me and my brother have reduced dramatically is bread.
Uh-huh.
Mainly because they put, if you buy bread, or if you buy certain flour, they put calcium carbonate in it.
Right. Yep.
And we think they shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be putting chalk in bread, but they do.
Yeah. And it never goes bad. So when I bake my son, or used to, fresh sourdough bread every morning, and it would last about maybe 24 hours, maybe 48 before it started smelling stale, and then I started seeing mold on it. But the bread, you can buy it at the store, and I had one loaf that I kept for, a year and a half, and it never molded. So I figured we never ate it, but still, whatever else they're putting in it, because here in the United States, they can call it natural flavors, and if it's certain parts per million, they don't have to list it. It can be any chemical.
Well, a couple of things there. You've got salt's been used for years as a preservative. So there could be one reason why they add a lot of salt into food stuff. Secondly, another thing is, they say that they put the calcium carbonate in the bread because it's good for your teeth and bones.
Of course.
And yet, we'd love anyone, if anyone's going to listen to this, can you please let us know how that calcium gets into your teeth and bones?
Exactly.
Because, it doesn't in our view. And we wonder, if you're a plumber, or I don't know whether you would call them plumbers in your country,
Too.
people who deal with copper piping, they deal with their scale build-up.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem, one of the things that I suppose that we're kind of against with putting the chemicals in the food stuff, and that is you're ingesting inorganic substances into your body, which is organic, and your body can't process inorganic substances, so that they build up. It's like your gallstones or your other things that can cause blockages within your veins or whatever. It's all a build-up of all this shite that they put in the food.
Well, I thought you weren't going to say anything about health and wellness, and you just explained in one sentence exactly how I feel about health and wellness. 100%.
Yeah, but that was just a general kind of.
All it is, though, you guys. If it's a substance made in a lab, it does not belong in your body because your body.
I totally agree. Yeah, totally agree.
That's all we need to know.
Yeah,
so
totally agree.
Out of the ground, fell out of a tree, or walked around, it's on the menu. If it didn't, take it off the menu. The more ingredients it has, the worse it's going to be for your body. Your body doesn't understand something that was heated in a kiln to 1,000 degrees Celsius, had all of these different lab-made acids added to it, and then created and telling you this is an essential nutrient for the body. It isn't.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I think going back to the salt and the acid, I'd go on the understanding that your body can accept salts, it can accept acids to a degree, but anything else, I'd certainly like chalk calcium carbonate. I'd certainly sort of like question that, definitely, because it's just, to me, I can't see the benefit. And even iron, I can't understand in my understanding, they put the iron in the food, in the cereals.
Yeah, but it's not iron that you would go out
only for anemia
and find in food. I'm not going to find metal shards.
Yeah, you won't.
In liver. I'm not going to find it in egg yolks or dark leafy greens where they tell you that iron is hiding. It's start eating healthy, nutritious foods that was grown, as wild as possible with best possible conditions, and that's going to get you back into health. But if you're eating Fritos and drinking Cokes and swilling back alcohol, then your body's compromised, but it's not going to be rectified by taking something from a pharmaceutical company that is made from metal.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, I'll ask you a question, Robin. What's your understanding of a carbohydrate?
Well, I'm still trying to figure out what is actually going on inside the body. I did a expose on what a calorie is and the way they determine calories with the bomb calorimeter. So I've thrown that out the window. So I believe what we're after is a life force energy that is included in the plants that received it from the sun, that got the primary water going up through the
right.
But
so that's calorie.
Right. So it's not a calorie though, because they desiccate the piece of broccoli or the piece of meat, whatever they're determining the calorie content, and then they burn it. And then if it heats the water around it, 1 degrees centigrade, they'll say that's 1 calorie. That's not how the body works though. And so you have all these people counting calories that are the most overweight people that I've ever seen. They're drinking Diet Coke, which supposedly has 0 calories, eating, less than 600 calories a day, and are morbidly obese.
Oh, yeah. But just going back to the carbohydrate, what's your understanding of it? You kind of said something there that kind of linked into what we think it is.
So the life force energy, there's supposedly the simple carbohydrates, which contain simple sugars that you're breaking down to get the sugars, or the
Right.
complex carbohydrates that have the more fiber to break down to get to
Yeah.
sugars.
I mean, we've looked at how like sugar is manufactured or
Yeah.
processed. Processed really would be a better word to describe it.
Right.
In our understanding, it's they call a food carbohydrate because they expose it to carbon dioxide and they hydrate it
Interesting.
during the process.
Yeah.
That's your
Definition.
carbohydrate. So any food that's been burnt or exposed to carbon dioxide, and then it's then been leached as part of the process. It's a carbohydrate.
Yeah. And
And
you
it's,
and I don't have a furnace inside our bodies burning things.
well, see, the old chemists of Lavoisier's time in the 1800s or late 1700s, when he named carbon dioxide, because it was called fixed air at the time
Uh-huh.
by Black. Joseph Black, it was called fixed air at the time. Lavoisier came along, called it carbon dioxide, and he wanted to, because he wanted to come away from the old understanding of the classic elements. So he wanted to create a new nomenclature of all these products, as we would call them, or elements, and he named fixed air. He named it carbon dioxide because he wanted to assimilate the process of combustion with the human body.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the whole thing came around about the respiratory process within humans and animals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we absorb the oxygen and then we exhale the carbon dioxide
Right.
because the body is like a furnace. It's kind of like produces energy. That's the way that human beings, wanted to understand how the body functions.
Right.
So in some respects, you know, a lot of it is like, well, it's our bodies aren't a furnace, like you say. We don't burn anything.
Right.
You know, we don't produce carbon dioxide. You know, that in our understanding, there's no carbon in the body.
I agree.
You know, because carbon is just the result of a process, the process of combustion.
Do you think plants produce what they're calling oxygen and
No.
yeah.
Oh, you're talking about photosynthesis.
Well, I mean, I kind of looked into the whole carbon myth and
Yeah.
how their corporations are purchasing carbon credits from farmers. But carbon, the way I called it, the great carbon myth, in that we don't really have natural occurring carbon.
Carbon. Yeah.
Right. And so plants aren't taking it in and giving us oxygen in the way that we have been led to believe, and we're not creating carbon dioxide by exhaling.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you.
Yeah.
The one demonstration that they scientists, chemists would use to demonstrate that like a diamond is made of carbon, is pure carbon, is that they would burn the carbon.
Right.
Sorry, they would burn the diamond in an air of oxygen with a hydrogen flame.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would bubble the airstream, the gas stream from that exhaust. They would bubble it through calcium hydroxide solution.
Right.
And I don't know whether you're familiar with kids at school, and they doing the lime water test.
No.
Are you familiar with that?
No.
Well, you get a straw and you blow through a solution of calcium hydroxide, which is also called lime water,
Yeah.
and you blow through it, and then the solution will turn milky. And then people will say, well, that's because it's the carbon dioxide that's being expelled from your air, from your body,
Right.
that's precipitating in solution in the calcium hydroxide, which is turning it to calcium carbonate. That's their understanding.
Right.
The same thing happens when you burn a diamond.
Right.
You burn a diamond, and that airstream will go into this calcium hydroxide, this lime water, and it will go milky. And then they'll say, "There you go, the diamond is made of carbon."
Right.
But in our understanding, what actually happens in that process is that it's the salt that's present in your exhaled breath condensates that gets exhaled and goes into that solution and then precipitates, and it starts going milky. So all you're seeing in the milky solution of lime water is the presence of a salt.
Right.
So that made us consider that when the diamond gets burned and then it's turning the lime water milky, all you're seeing is that the diamond is made of a salt and not carbon.
Interesting.
Which goes back to your earlier point, in that there isn't any really there isn't anything that's carbon that you can actually find in the natural world.
No, you can't.
It's only a result of a process, and that process is of combustion.
Right, exactly. And so that's how they have said it's the building blocks of everything, because all they've done is burned it. And then it's left with ashes, and they say, aha,
Yeah.
we uncovered the carbon. So you could burn my arm and produce ashes. You could burn the plants and the trees in the background. You could burn them.
Yeah.
And it's like everything. That's why they say it's a basic building blocks. But I could never take carbon and everything else they say I'm made out of and electrify it or put electrolysis in it and make a human embryo. You know, it's
well, you can't.
Or anything else. I can't make an apple. And so that was that was the last kind of question that I wanted to ask you guys is, and I know you're probably going to shy away from it a little bit, but the why. Why do they do it? Why do they lie? Yes, it's to sell cheap chemicals back to you, making you think that they're essential. But it also seems like they hide the fact that you and I can't make an orange, no matter how hard we try, no matter how
we can grow one.
We can grow one from a seed that's already there. Where did the seed come from? Where does the air come from if I can't make it or destroy it? Where does the water come from if it's not two hydrogens and an oxygen? You know, and you start to understand that there's the human meddling, making magnesium and pretending carbon exists, and all of the, and then there's just the base elements of life, which would be water. Water is water. You can't create it, make it, you can't destroy it. And you would start to see then a different way of perhaps health, wellness, what you can be tricked into taking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I can just go back to that bit about the plants and the carbon, and that is if you burn some plants or if you burn some wood, you'll produce carbon because it's the result of the process of combustion. But if you burn that even more, you'll end up with a salt. Which is why you got your potash and your soda ash.
Right.
So it stands to reason that the end result is always seems to be a salt when you're burning organic material.
I didn't even think about that. The potash.
Well, that's why I had to mention it.
Yeah.
I think my brother here could answer that last question of yours.
Okay, good.
Yeah, because why do we all have it? Why do we have?
Why do we have the lie?
Why the lie? Why the?
I suppose that lots of people, if you ask lots of people that question, I think everybody would come back with a different answer. Everybody's got their own take on it. Some people might think it's control. Some people might think it's to make money. Some people might think it's to whatever.
Yeah.
However, we tend to think that there's an awful lot of confusion in human society, and there's a lot of truths in the world, or there's a lot of truths regarding human experience that people don't want you to know. So they create this confusion. They create a lot of misinformation. They skew the real world and make people and present it as if it's something else. It's a ball. We're living on a ball. Water's H₂O. Plants respire. They absorb. They photosynthesize. Thank you. They do all of this stuff, and yet none of it can be proved to be true. But it skews people's understanding of the world, and it basically hides the reality of life.
Or hold on.
That's what I think. That's my own view.
Or you could actually argue that we could go back in time to look at Johann. Who's the guy who discovered photosynthesis?
Dunno.
The guy discovered photosynthesis, and what he did was that he put in some sodium bicarbonate, dropped some sodium bicarbonate in a plant that was in water, and it had a bung on this big vase. And then after a while, he noticed that there was a gas at the top.
Okay.
And he lit.
He lit
the
Dutch guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and he lit.
I just looked it up.
No, not Priestley. No. That was he was the one who played around with some mercuric oxide.
Ingleshouse.
Ingleshouse. That's the guy.
Yeah,
that's the guy as well.
That's the one.
And he discovered that it relit a glowing splint. So he's thinking, wow, these plants must photosynthesis. They must produce oxygen. Oh, and he's because he dropped in some sodium bicarbonate, he's given the plants some carbon dioxide. So it kind of like supports the idea that, there's carbon dioxide in the air, the plant absorbs it, and then it releases, as part of its process, it releases oxygen.
Right.
The man has a good way of coming up with all these ideas on what to understand the natural world. One thing he cannot do, and that's he can't verify or test his ideas about the natural world. In other words, he can't show you photosynthesis in the natural world without using sodium bicarbonate. And sodium bicarbonate has got a chemical symbol NaHCO3. It's got 3 oxygens. So if you're saying that this is absorbing carbon dioxide, which is 2 oxygens, where's the other oxygen going to go? Well, it's going to be released in the, I'm just using their understanding, by the way.
Get it.
But the oxygen is coming from the chemical they're putting in the water. Otherwise, it wouldn't release any oxygen. But it's funny because if you apply some heat to a plant that's submerged in water, it will release air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It will release air bubbles because the plant absorbs the air.
Yeah, because of the moisture in
because of the moisture in the air. So it's very much interconnected. How man has created his ideas. But a lot of the time you can come up with an alternative that again can't be challenged either, which discounts what the original idea to begin with.
Because the ideas that they've come up with, or that are on the periodic sales of elements, or that are on your grocery store supplement aisles, is because they're profitable. So if I come up with an idea that can't be verified, but no one's going to make any money off of it, you're never going to hear about it. What you and I can function in, though, is evidence-based reality, what you and I can observe. If I
Yeah.
explain it to me with cartoon characters and tell me that this is how it's operating and electrons and protons and neutrons are exchanging things, then man can create everything that is here in the natural world by their definitions. But the reality is we can't. I can't go and get a hydrogen gas and oxygen gas and make water.
Well, in theory, and their understanding, you can.
I can.
Water's made of hydrogen and oxygen.
But if I know that or I evidence based that is not reality, I'm just pulling moisture that was already in the air, the water that was.
That's right. Yeah. The water was already present before the oxygen reacted with the hydrogen. It was already present because when you produce hydrogen, you'll always have water because you need the water to break down the substance to release the hydrogen.
And that was my whole point as far as when you're talking about the nature of reality, Mother Nature, things that we cannot produce on our own, then you allow things to be in their natural order. I'm not going to believe that I need to interfere with everything, with farming and with animals.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Robin, man's he's a very inquisitive beast, and he likes doing things with his hands and keep him busy.
You can still do it and allow nature to be nature. I can build a cabin in the woods and still live synergistically with the wildlife around me and be part of the ecosystem.
Oh, yeah, I can understand that. However, there's other people who unfortunately want to make loads of money.
Yeah.
And I think it's that greed that is the driver that's destructive in society.
I call, the hungry ghost, because the way things are going, no one's ever satisfied with the way things are. You have to keep consuming and until a point where there's nothing left to consume.
Yeah, I was going to say, I always try and be devil's advocate in many discussions because I think it's only right to be like that.
Yeah.
But obviously, I know I can tell when something's not right. Obviously,
Yeah.
But in a lot of discussions, I try and be devil's advocate. So what you were saying earlier, which I've totally forgotten, about mainstream, and that is the mainstream's there. It has some kind of justification in doing what they do,
right?
Which is my point. So it's okay to be critical of mainstream, but you have to understand why they do the things they do. Well, I think were you not talking about retail shopping and stuff, or not?
Well, maybe, but I think your point is more to do with that human beings need some kind of order. Any civilization needs.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes, that's it. What would people, if, like you were talking about consuming, buying, consuming, what would people be doing otherwise? What would you think people would do
exactly
if they weren't consuming, if they weren't shopping, if they were not working, if they were not doing a lot of these things? So,
well, I know
the whole discussion turns into a kind of, comes away from the chemistry and the science and stuff.
Comes more to morality.
It becomes more towards morality, the purpose of human beings, and this kind of sociological kind of question.
Yeah, because in my understanding, if people didn't have things to do in their lives, they'd be fighting.
Well,
it's you've got to think. This is why it's always best to be middle of the road. I can see the badness in society. I look at a lot of people in the UK at the moment are moaning about the government. I'm sure you're aware of what's going on in the UK, but people are moaning about the government. They're moaning about Labour. They're moaning about politicians, immigrants, and all this. But they don't.
Guys, I think we're talking about two completely different things here. What I'm saying is that if you take away people's Amazon shopping and their credit card, they're not going to start turning on each other and fighting like dogs. We've seen examples in society and tribes that are living away from, all of the modern alleged conveniences that are living in harmony with nature. But I'm not saying we have to
granted.
all our clothes and live in the middle of the wilderness and just live like wild animals. I'm saying you can still live synergistically where we're not necessarily aiding harm good.
But the mindset of people has to be there in place as a foundation in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
You've got to have people who are of that kind of mindset where, to live by nature's rules, to live with nature, to grow things, to do a lot of things that they wouldn't normally do.
But there's the poisoning of the mind. So we have a lot of people that have been poisoned from the time they were in utero, and non-ionizing radiation and ultrasounds and 84 injections and prenatal vitamins and garbage food and formula and poisoning of the mind through nonstop screens and music and everything else. So my point is that the human nature, our human potential, could come out in more productive ways that
totally agree.
It doesn't harm children. And in the United States, having all these laws protecting 10-year-olds to go and get their gender changed and
reassignment,
their genitals mutilated, and have all of these different policies that are physically harming babies and children, and I don't think I truly can be healthy as a human if 99.9% of the planet is not functioning in health. Is unhealthy. Right? And
I totally agree.
That's all it is. It's not a morality. It's not, we should be doing this and we shouldn't be having modern conveniences, get rid of the airplanes and all of that. It's, we could do it better. And that's, I feel, is like our human potential.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, but it's got to start from somewhere, and people have to.
Which is why I love you guys, because that's where it starts, is observing reality for what it is. You're not telling people what to believe now. You're not telling them that believing that water isn't H2O it makes them a better person. You're just presenting the evidence so that they can say, hey, this starts to uncover more of the truth of the world around me. And then we can all start to have discussions that are a little more awakened to the reality of where we're living. That's all it is.
I mean, it's good to not influence, because you don't want to influence people. It's good to help people to see that there's an alternative.
Yeah, that's all it is.
The trouble with modern society is that it's got its claws deep into people's psyche, into their lives, and it's very difficult to not be a part of it.
Well, I'm always up for a challenge, you guys. So, this is why I write for Substack. This is why Agent 131711 and I started the Shadow Band Library. Just a place to express, hey, this is what I found. Tell me where I'm wrong about magnesium. Tell me where I'm wrong about the periodic table. If I'm wrong, I will be happy to admit it. I was dead wrong about colloidal silver. I thought it was a miracle substance, and it turns out it makes you one of the most conductive humans on the planet. So I was happy to saying, hey, what? I was wrong.
Yeah, but we've actually looked at colloidal silver in one of our videos. We've actually looked at it's very similar to, they put drinking hydrogen water, where they put a block of magnesium in some water, and they put it in the fridge.
Yeah.
And after a while, after so many hours, they quickly undo the top, and they drink
sealed bottle, isn't it?
They drink it. And to be honest with you, we think it's what they're doing
is no different to what man does with the food by putting iron into food and all that kind of stuff.
It's psychological. A lot of people want to do something to make them feel better, but a lot of the time it's not making them feel better.
Because your body didn't have silver in it to begin with, did it, when it was born?
And wild animals aren't out for someone lapping up, puddles of silver.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, you have a good take. I mean, really, people should be eating health. People should just be eating and exposing themselves to natural stuff.
Right.
So if you find a banana, just eat the banana.
Exactly.
But if you see some boiled sweets that have been manufactured by human beings, avoid them. Stay well clear of those, because they're lots of them are gonna have a detrimental effect on your health. So we get that from your point of view.
Okay.
So we get that.
But then what I've done, I do an 11-week course, and I just show people all the different ways that they could be bringing toxins into their family. And I have a son that was injured as he was an infant, and so I've seen the devastating effects of this. As a hospice nurse, I see the devastating effects of putting someone on blood pressure medications for their life and having them die a horrible death with dialysis. So I have a different perspective, and I have a different way of saying, it's not just, live and let live. If we're headed down a wrong trajectory and people are tricked into poisoning themselves, all I'm here to do is offer another perspective. Not saying I'm right, but just here's some information that I found. Just like when I came across what you guys found, I got so excited.
I suppose it's good. It's good if there's like an alternative, if people have an alternative.
And that's what I do in my course. I say, by the time it took you to get in your car, go to the grocery store, buy a bottle of Gain laundry soap that has all these different chemicals known to be endocrine disruptors, etc. Just take some baking soda, some sodium carbonate, some borax.
I mean, it sounds like there could be some of these small little villages set up, in certain areas where it's just simple living.
Yes.
Just simple living.
Because
no internet, no mobile.
You have the internet. Right?
Yes, and you and I
can information.
In the sunshine, having a cup of tea and talking about things that light us up, or I could paint a picture, or we could look at
living a stress-free life.
And
there's so much that can happen.
Yes,
but it's as if everyone's at the moment, they're all caught up in their own lives. They're caught up in world events. They're caught up in materialism.
Yeah.
Consumerism, and there are a lot of people who are getting fed up with it.
That's it. I think they're overplaying their hand, because at a certain point you hit the point of critical mass. Like, we're sick of it.
Basically, because the consumerism just creates sick individuals.
Yeah. And that's it. But we can't, and using that as a metaphor. So if we have the opportunity, so I don't have to work 3 jobs and have 3 side hustles just to make ends meet in my life, then I have a little more time to talk about these things and talk about not necessarily what our purpose is. I don't think we're ever going to really pin that one down, but to live and engineer a life where we're all happy and we're enjoying the moments that we have, and we have time to spend with loved ones, and do things that are productive and do things that are part of.
It all comes down to people leading happy, healthy lives,
psychological growth.
Psychological growth, that's what it's all down to. But unfortunately, we're living in a world where there's a lot of people
don't want you to grow up,
don't want you to lead a happy, healthy life.
It's not profitable, right?
It's not so much profitable, but there's a
lot of forces out in life that are, what's the word? How can I put it?
Well,
that are against you.
Yeah,
there are a lot of forces.
That would be a
good way of putting it, because there's a lot of people who are against the current society. A lot of people are getting fed up with it or getting sick of it, but they're tackling it from different positions. Like they might be getting sick of the immigration in this country, or some people might be getting sick of the government, but they're not really getting sick of the whole.
Yeah, they're not.
They need to get sick of the whole before.
Really, they need to get in certain respects. They need to get sick of themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because they've got to identify the sickness within them. And a lot of people, don't try very hard to avoid looking at the sickness within. People, a lot of people don't try very hard to avoid looking at the sickness within.
Right.
And, you can only try and things will only happen, I'm sure, once you've looked at the sickness within.
Oh, right, yeah.
I mean, like you and I mean, I know we're going a little bit off topic here, but we're lately beginning to we watched a little YouTube video on some psychologists and philosophers, and we come across Carl Jung, and and the concept of individuation.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, that it's happening to us.
Yeah.
It's happening.
That process.
And we can identify with what's going on. For example,
well, we can see it in other people.
We can see that we've grown out of
this society.
We've literally grown out of this society. Like years ago, obviously we're living in the UK. You've got ABBA, popular band, played on the radio, on wherever, and
Dancing Queen.
Absolutely, you hear it all the time. Over the years. But now it's gotten to a point where we've outgrown ABBA.
Right.
I'm tired of ABBA.
Tired of listening to it.
Tired of listening to it. I'm tired of listening to the same old stuff that the UK has to offer, because I've grown out of it.
But, yeah.
I've literally grown out of it. But you see, the thing is that the people in charge of the country, they don't want lots of people like me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
They don't want lots of people like me, because I won't vote. I won't take part in their.
Or you'd want change.
I'd want change. I'd want to see change, but I wouldn't want to just stop immigration and all this. I'd want proper change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's something they wouldn't want. So, I mean, we're currently going through. I'd say it's an exciting transformation period. It's been going on for quite maybe a year and a half, 2 years, whatever.
Well, you notice things.
You notice little things as you and I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people don't interest me much, because I find their conversations just boring. They're not
stimulating.
They're not stimulating, because I don't talk football. We don't talk football. We don't talk the weather. We don't talk what other people, bills, money. We don't talk that. We talk about life. Because this is what it's all about. It's everyone leads a life, so why not talk about it?
Right. But it's almost like, though, that when you both are, I feel, whatever you want to call it, it's not a hierarchy, but you're awakening to who you truly are as a human being.
Yeah, that's individuation.
That's individuation. Yeah. I don't know whether. Yeah, you sound as if you've already read up on Carl Jung.
Yeah, well, I have. It's been a while, but I think it's interesting, because as you are going through the individuation, or whatever you want to put the words on it, the awakening, or then you're illuminated from within. You're not looking outside for answers, which means you're no longer the consumer. But I think what happens, though, is you're a lighthouse, and you don't go around looking for boats to rescue. You're just standing there your light, and so you're illuminating those around you. You're not convincing them, you're not telling them what to do, but you're illuminating. Through that illumination, it's like, birds in murmuration. They're all flocking in one direction for so long, but it's going to change. The only constant is change, and that can change in the flick of a switch. And then all of a sudden, the whole public is talking about what you and I are talking about.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
And then we're
this
starving the system. We're not fighting it because you're never going to fight against the system and win. But they have to have our attention. They have to have us talking about them and the Kardashians and whoever.
No, but the best way you can not beat the system, but the best way you can change the system is by, well, in our understanding, is not participating in it.
Exactly it. You starve the system of your attention. You starve it of your energy that you've converted to money, gold, silver. You're not giving it to them, you're giving it to each other, contracting with each other. Hey, my neighbors and I are starting a food forest. I have bees. They like to talk to me about bees. I'm not going to go in there with guns ablazing, talking about politics and how it's two
Oh, right, yeah.
wings of the same bird.
But it's tangible.
It's tangible.
It's
like
tangible.
The grocery store prices
Would you
are
like some?
expensive.
Would you like some wax?
Would you like some beeswax? Would you like a
Honey?
little?
Would you like some honey?
Would you like to know how to keep the bees happy?
Sure.
And that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we change it. It's not going to be this big epiphany and explosion of human consciousness, but it's just going to be that one tipping point where now it's not feeding this beast of corporate greed because it's going to be finite. It's just a matter of when. And, and then we have then spent this time creating fertile ground for the explosion of individuation, human consciousness, realizing, there's more to it than just putting your head down and going shopping and doing these things that we've been programmed to say is a healthy, productive life.
Yeah. Well, mainly it's about enjoying life.
Mm.
I think that's that's well, for me anyway, from what I've looked at with the individuation, you begin to realize. I mean, I've learned a long time ago that the only thing you've got to give to other people is your good mood.
Yeah.
You can only have a smile. You can only be in a good mood. That's all you can do in life. I mean, there's no point walking around being miserable and looking glum all the time because it doesn't help anyone. But if people were able to enjoy life and even walk around with a smile, be happy, then that changes things. People notice you, and they think, well, what's he got that I haven't got?
Oh, right, yeah.
And then that is something, and I'm sure, I don't mean to be boastful, but that's something that a lot of people want.
Yeah.
Mm.
And if you've got something that a lot of people want, I mean, come on, I mean, you've cracked it, haven't you?
Yeah, no, but the trouble
You're
is
going to be very popular. They're going to think, well, what's his secret?
But the trouble is that a lot of people are only exposed to smiles on the TV.
Right. Oh yeah, sure, sure.
When in TV, it's all about money on the TV. Nice teeth, wealthy, people doing lots of different things. Whereas a lot of people aren't in that kind of situation because they're drawn into this fact that you're drawn into this world that in order to be happy, you've got to have money and you've got to be successful.
Yeah. But I think people know deep down inside when something's authentic.
That's
authenticity. Yeah.
Authenticity is very important, and I'm sure that's part of the individuation.
Yeah, and our humans crave that authentic connection. They crave somebody looking into your eyes and listening to your story, not because they want to convince you of something, but because they truly are interested in seeing you. The I see you, the true I see you.
Or it could be that they actually want to change.
Yeah.
They want to change, and they can see that you can help them change.
Yeah, because we all rub off on one another, on each other.
Just by your frequency, though.
So some people might be adverse to our interaction. Some people might not like us interacting with them. But it's not your fault. It's just a lot of people aren't prepared. They're not geared up to accept and be inviting or welcoming to the way you are.
Right.
But a lot of people can sense when they know that you're in a better position than they are.
Right.
And if people know that, then they too could be in the same situation.
And this has got nothing to do with money.
Absolutely.
You could have someone who's quite wealthy who
is totally miserable.
I see that all the time.
Could be unhappy, and they can see that you live a very simple life, but you're a lot happier and content within yourself. They can see that.
But I think that's the truest sign of intelligence is, can you engineer a life for yourself that brings you joy, brings you happiness, allows other people to feel that joy and happiness around you, not in a codependent way, but just in a way that is abundant.
Well, I mean, one thing that's, there you need a lot more people who are together. Let's say, use the word together. They are together. They're you're talking about groups of people.
Yeah.
Whereas at the moment, it's more individual. There's more individuals dotted around the place, and these people need to kind of come together. But I think there are people. My view that you're probably experiencing some people in America as well as it is here, where there's a lot of people who are disliking the workplace.
Yes.
Because they can sense that it's very toxic.
Yes.
And that it's not good for anyone's mental health. Now we could develop that and go one step further, and think that people might actually realise that even money is bad for you.
Right.
Or the desire for money. Wanting things
of it, yes,
is bad for you. So can you imagine what the world would be like if a lot of young people, for example, got absolutely switched off from the desire for money,
I know.
wanting money?
Which I think is what's happening anyway.
Can you imagine what it's going to be like? How people will value more simple things in life than actually going out to work 9 to 5, chasing that money so that they can go on holiday 3 times a year or twice a year or once a year.
You guys, I think that's happening, and I see it on the kind of underneath the surface. It's bubbling up, and the more I hear, my son is going to be 19, and I listen to his friends talking, and there is that sense of they don't want to do what we've done, work.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. Yeah.
And look miserable, and then you get a few good years of quote retirement when everyone's old and you've been used up anyway. What's the point in that? And so they're starting to see, and I think they're starting to wake up to, hey, I want to be happy right now. How can I do that?
That's it. I totally agree with that. Because that's more valuable.
That's more. Yeah, that is more valuable than
all the money in the world.
Than going out and doing a job that you may not like, or
I
mean, it's just it's something. Yeah, sure.
But we can only hope for things like that to change.
Well, I think the internet's helped change.
It starts with you guys. It starts with you doing your wonderful work. It starts with me creating that. I realized when I go see hospice patients, I used to, try and think of all the different ways I could heal them, and brought in, these little tuning forks. And then I had my essential oils, and it was never about that. It was me sitting down next to the person.
Yeah, just being with them.
Just being with them, and actually though not talking at them, because I never have done that. It's just you're both equals, and I'm curious about your story. Tell me about who you are. Tell me about what lights you up.
Intimacy.
Yes, and it brings both of us joy. So it's not a vacuum where I'm like, oh, I'm exhausted because I had to listen to this person drone on. I'm genuinely interested.
Yeah, I mean, you could have. Sorry, but you could have this guy who's worked for this multinational corporation, a high executive, and he's done his job, and he's brought up a family. He brought up kids. He's gone out to work, all the time, gone on holiday, lived a successful life. But all the while, all that time, no one's actually taken an interest in him as a person. And yet he could come down with some kind of terminal illness. He goes to the hospice, and then you come along and you sit with him and you take an interest in him and you value him as a person.
As an individual,
And that is something that is missed out all of his life. So it's the connection we have with other people that's important.
Sure. Yeah.
And the value, how much we value those connections.
Right.
Because if you just treat your friends like, you don't treat your friends very well, or if you don't value these kind of relationships, then you're not going to have a very good relationship with other people when you need them.
Right. And I see that as a hospice nurse. And so it's what you're talking about is just that value that we have shifted our perspective from the money and the things, and how big is your house, and do you have a water view?
Yeah, I know. All right. Yeah. Oh, we're having a new driveway done this week.
Imagine you're talking to, I don't know, someone in the hospice, you're saying, "Oh, right, yeah. So, did you live in a big house then?"
Yeah, right.
Oh, right. I mean,
right.
it's just totally
What's in your bank account right now? None of that matters. And to be able to see it though when you're young and not have to wait until you're 57, but you see it now when you're 18 and 19, you don't have to spend half your life going through all of the mistakes and going underneath and having to heal your trauma and having to heal your whatever.
Well, you can be at your individuation stage
yes,
in an early life instead of having it at a later life.
Oh, yeah, sure. Exactly. Yeah, sure. Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, a lot of people. Well, I know a lot of people. Probably they get to. It's always been things gotten in the way of and preventing them from doing the things they want to do. So when they get older, they finish work, they retire. They think, right, now I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to go and travel, or I'm going to learn that musical instrument, learn to play that musical instrument. I'm going to do this or that. But people should have been doing that when they were younger,
right?
Before they were working. Yeah. So it's basically, and a lot of people probably don't want to be making up time.
Well, I had the gift of having an older father who all I heard from him the entire time we were growing up was how old he was and how he was a CPA, certified public accountant, did taxes all day, and how he couldn't wait to retire. And so when he turned 65, I saw my dad retire for 1 full week, and then he went back to work because he had nothing to do. He hadn't hadn't pursued interest. He hadn't pursued what he
and he put his life into work.
He put his life into work, and so he had nothing left. And then he died a horrible death.
I can understand.
And he was unhappy, and he was deeply unhappy until the day he died. And so I was able to see that, and I said, I'm living my life today.
Yeah, he was unfulfilled.
He was unfulfilled and always seeking that, well, someday when I retire, then I'm going to be happy.
So,
then I'm going to have the things that I can pursue. And you realize that it's too late then, because life is just the moment.
Life's short. Yeah, sure. Yeah, but again, people are.
I suppose that's down to education. That's down to how he was brought up.
There's a lot of factors there.
A lot of variables involved in his situation and a lot of other people's situations. But it's nice to be in a position where you can, identify the things you want to do, and then go ahead and do. And you're not procrastinating. You just get on and do them because it's what you want to do.
Yeah, but a lot of that is what's key to that is knowing who you are.
Right.
A lot of people don't know who they are. Right. Like your dad may have known what he was good at.
Sure.
But he may not have known who he was.
As an individual.
As a person.
As a person.
And I wonder, he was a World War II vet. He was born in 1919. So to your point, I wonder if anyone ever sat down and asked him, hey, who are you? What do you enjoy doing?
Well, there was that. Yeah, but I've got to admit, times are different now than they were, during the war, and when you watch loads of films, from the 40s and 50s, all you see actors do is smoke.
Broken
That's all they do, and you think, wow, it's crazy times.
drink. Yeah, I mean,
You know, in this country, they used to put grease over people's hair, on their hair.
Yeah.
Men used to put grease on their hair, brill
I
cream.
mean, look at the clothes.
Who'd want to do that now?
I mean, look at the clothes men used to wear in the 50s. You know, I mean, what a waste of material, fabric.
Yeah.
They used to wear baggy trousers, big jackets,
Yeah, I know.
wide lapels. I mean, why couldn't they have made clothes in the 50s that were more practical? You know, that saved material, that were just all right. But you know, it's taken them how long? How long has it taken human beings just to, you know, have some kind of common sense and apply that common sense to his life? You know, to the lifestyles as well.
Yeah, in other words, you can apply you can look at human beings as a whole, and look at them as a whole and apply that kind of what you see. You can apply it to an individual.
Right.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
That it makes perfect sense, and it's just, I think it's a matter of allowing us to forget all of the programming, all of the brainwashing, all of the what we're told will make us happy, the external, meaning we're just constantly trying to fill a void with something from the outside, and just stopping for a moment and realizing everything we need is within.
Totally agree. Yeah. But I think the main thing to do with the external is you just switch it off.
Yeah.
Cut it off.
Or don't take part in it.
I mean, I know in America you're probably exposed to more materialism and consumerism than we are here. But you know, switching it off is one way that you can. I mean, the TV, for example, we haven't had a TV for nearly 30 years.
That's a common thread, you guys.
The TV is the worst thing that anyone can have.
Yes.
In your home.
Yes.
And if you get rid of the TV, you're on your way.
Yeah, you're on your way.
You're on the way.
Well, that brings me to our last point, and that is, what do you see as solutions? So your first solution, obvious, and I agree with you 1000%, if that was even a thing, is get rid of your TV, turn it off.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
No, get rid of it. Get rid of it.
Yeah,
Just get rid of it. Don't have it in your house.
I mean, granted, we have a computer. You know, we have a display, but we don't actually have a TV. You've
Right.
got more control with a computer. You can go on videos that you want to watch. You can go on look at information that you want to watch. You're having nobody tell you that this is how it is. You don't have to listen to the news. The news is depressing. Get rid of it, you know.
And it's not even true. It's fear mongering. And so that you're supposed to be in that state of fear, which we have, I believe, determined is the number one way to destroy your health. So what are some other ways that we can look towards solutions?
Well, what another solution here? I'll give you an example. I used to go somewhere to do an activity, and I was talking with this guy, and this guy said, "I've just been made. I'm just retired. You know, just retired, and I'm like looking for things to fill up my time." And I kind of suggested to him just to get a diary.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds very simple, but if he got himself a diary, he can actually plan what he can do with his time.
Wow.
You know, so if you get rid of your TV, you're going to have more time on your hands. So you'll be looking for things to do.
Yeah.
And we're quite practical people.
And to encourage you to do things, you can get a diary.
Get a diary, yeah. And because you want to fill it up. You want to fill it up. You want to see it, you know, filled. You don't want to see it empty. I'm not doing much there, am I?
Yeah.
And it might encourage you to do things other than watch
That's
TV.
Quite a good suggestion, that is, isn't it?
Well, it's a very simple suggestion.
Very practical as well. Yeah, of course. A diary doesn't cost much,
No.
But it's a lot of it is
you get a good visual on what your life is like. I mean, if you just open the page, what am I doing this week? Oh, look, it's blank. You know, it tells you, you've got a visual on what your life is like.
Oh, yeah, because
Pretty empty.
Oh, because it's also looking at you having control over your life. You know, you being able to say, right, I fancy doing this today, or I fancy doing that.
Yeah, what am I going to do on Tuesday afternoon?
If you're not, if you leave, if there's a void in your life, nature abhors a vacuum. So something will come along. It's a very philosophical way of looking at it, but something will come along.
You might meet a friend and they ask you to go to an afternoon tea.
And then you might go.
So you put it in the diary.
Yeah, and then you might meet someone there who does beekeeping, for example.
Right.
And then you might think, that sounds quite interesting. I might pop along to that. And it's amazing how one thing can lead to another.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key. I think
it's rather quite a good suggestion.
People want. You're living in a society where people want things like now. They want it today, and I think people need to step back from that way of thinking, and they need to relax more. They need to take things at a much slower pace. And actually, they don't need to analyze. They don't need to analyze everything that they do or analyze everything that people say to them.
Right.
But it's just knowing that they are part of the collective.
Yeah.
They need to be part. They need to interact with that. And they just need to find something. I mean, we always say find something you enjoy doing.
Right.
And they need to try different things, whether it's painting, whether it's playing an instrument, or do something.
Find a passion in life, find a passion in life. Find something that is really going to
that you want to do.
That you want to do. I think this is the whole. This is the point. Yeah. It's finding who you are.
Yeah.
So to know what you want to do. Even if you want to do something that can make you money, okay, you can do that as a job kind of thing, it's fine. But it's nice to be doing, it's brilliant to be doing something that you genuinely want to do. Yeah, if you don't want to do something, you're not going to be very happy about doing it. You're going to be unhappy about doing it. But if you find something that you genuinely want to do, that you're laughing, You're a lot happier.
You're a lot happier, yeah, definitely.
And isn't that a great just biofeedback from the world? If you're happy, and not the kind of happy that's, manic and it's fleeting, but just genuinely happy, a genuine laugh, that's how you know you're in the right place. You're enjoying it.
Sure. Well,
it doesn't have challenges, but, everything worth doing is challenging.
You're just satisfied. You feel satisfied.
Yeah, you don't want for more. You're not searching for more because you're doing what you want to do. Right. If you've got what you want, why should you be looking for more?
Yeah, I know.
But what you're describing is just nature and balance, and so you're just the same balance as you see outside in a normal healthy ecosystem. You have a normal healthy ecosystem inside.
Yeah, I think that's more. I think with what you've just said, I think that's more dependent on you as an individual. In other words, you will take your balance wherever you go.
Exactly.
So whatever happens, you'll still be balanced.
Yes.
Because you are balanced.
Yeah.
And it's so simple that way then, because
So
you can't rely on the world to change. You can't rely on anybody else to change, your spouse or your kids.
Yeah.
To bring
happiness.
You change perspective. A lot of times it's just your perspective of what it is we're doing. I mean, we have to open our eyes every day and we close them every day. So what do you want to have happen in those times that your eyes are open, watching cat videos all day and playing games online and watching fear-mongering on TV? Or do you want to go on a hike and see something you've never seen before, or go to the top of a mountain, watch the sunrise? Those start to become the monetized experiences.
Yeah, there's lots of things that people can do in life.
Yeah.
But it boils down to whether people want to do them. I mean, my view is that if what is the point in someone going mountain climbing if they don't want to do it? Right. I just can't see the point in it. Just can't see the point in it. Why put yourself through a lot of stress?
Yeah.
Because you're, I don't know, a friend or someone has encourage you to go. You don't want to do it. What's wrong with saying no?
Absolutely.
No, I don't want to go. I'm not interested.
Right. Sure. And then it may, or I say, give it a try. If you don't know, if you're on the fence, just give it a try. If you hate it, don't do it.
Absolutely, yeah, sure. But again, it boils down to finding out who you are.
Yeah,
because when you know who you are, you know what you want to do. Yeah, but you'll know beforehand whether you want to go mountain climbing or not.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not my company. If somebody asked me, I'd say no because it's not my cup of tea. It's something I wouldn't get any kind of thrill out of one little bit. Right. Plus, it's dangerous as well. So I wouldn't want to do it.
Well, especially at our age, anyway.
Well, yeah, sure, but I just wouldn't want to do it.
But it's. I think you get more satisfaction out of something if you want to do it.
Sure. So there's that. So,
and that applies even with a job.
Yeah.
Why do people get a job just for the sake of working?
Right.
Oh, I've got to go and find some. I've got to get some.
Or people should be searching for a job they really want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, they've got to know who they are to know what work they want to do. Really want to do.
Yeah.
Or they can figure out a way to, make money in a couple hours a day and do the rest of the day is something that really brings.
Yeah, sure.
It's about engineering your life so that it brings you the maximum amount of joy, and the maximum.
Yeah, sure.
It's something that you get a kick out of. It's the joy of life, that X factor you can't quite put a finger on, but it just lights you up inside.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what a lot of people are missing in their life.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Pete and Peter, where can people find you if they want to get a hold of you? I'll have all the links to your YouTube videos and the Water Is Not H₂O book and anything else that you want to add.
Well, people can find us where you're going to leave the links. So that's great.
That's sorted.
Anything else we want to add?
Not really. I think we've said everything really.
Yeah, we did have some information up here on our desktop about aluminium, argon as well.
But we don't need to. I don't think we need to divulge
the processing and the.
Of course, you see, the thing is, when you get to a certain understanding, you begin to realise that. I mean, we've come to the conclusion now that nobody can truly come to know the natural world. Nobody can.
I agree with you guys 100% because
there we go.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. You can't reduce it down. You can't isolate it. You can't understand the inner workings of it, including how the human body works, including how we even process plants and energy. It's that which we will not know. So then we can pursue what we were talking about for the last half hour.
Yeah. So I mean, I speak to a lot of people online about the shape of the earth, about lots of science stuff, gravity, you name it. And a lot of people say to me all of these theories, well, this causes this and that causes this. But you've got no proof.
Right, exactly.
You can't prove it to me. So how do I know that you're correct and my ideas about the same thing we're both observing in the natural world is true?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
How do I know that I'm wrong?
There's even people.
You tell me how I'm wrong,
right?
And then I'll change my mind, and then I'll jump on board.
Well, you got people who think the Earth is this spinning ball, and Newton came up with this understanding of gravity that a larger mass will attract a smaller mass. So something in the air, the Earth is pulling it down.
Oh, it's an object that's falling,
and they call that
pulled to the Earth.
They call that gravitational attraction. Now, there are some people who disagree with that view, but in order to counter it, they go to the other extreme and say that the Earth is moving upwards.
Oh,
yeah, sure. Now we've totally got a middle of the road kind of view on this, but nobody, not even us, can prove our positions. Nobody can. Globee people can't prove or demonstrate that there is a pull on falling objects to the Earth. Yeah,
right.
They can't do that. So you see a falling object. Well, how can you test the presence of a pull? on that object.
Right.
What are you going to use?
Cool.
You know, and all these people who think the Earth is moving upwards, they can't prove the Earth is actually moving upwards, because you need to look at the Earth from way up high to see it from outside to see it moving.
Well, it's almost like what we're talking about is if you were a video game or the Mario Brothers, and you're trying to point outside of the video game to the inside the video game, that you're in the video game.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's very
You're
similar.
never going to be able to do it.
Yeah,
unless you change the frame of reference.
Yeah, unless you change your frame of reference, but you can't be doing that because that's artificial.
That means you're not human.
That means I'm not.
Exactly.
I want to experience life the way I experience it. I don't want to put myself in. I don't want to put myself on a falling rock and then say, "Oh, the Earth's moving upwards," and I'm stationary.
Right.
You know, yeah, which is what these people do. But so they've got their view, we've got our view, but nobody can prove what is the right view. Nobody can prove what is the right view, and it's the same with lots and lots and lots of other things in science regarding the natural world. Whether it's water is H₂O, whether it's there's all of these so-called elements actually existing naturally and occurring naturally, they can't prove it.
Okay. It's like, Robin, your article on your magnesium. I was reading some of the comments, and I noticed there was one woman who left a comment. Oh no, you're totally wrong. Well, we know magnesium is an element. Blah 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 blah. And like you think you can tell that she's really been sucked into the narrative.
Yeah, she's been conditioned.
You know, and yet she
indoctrinated.
You know, she can't actually go into nature and find you a piece of magnesium.
Exactly.
She can't do it.
No.
It's impossible.
Yeah,
and when you look at magnesium, I'm sure there's some sodium. There's a lot of metals, alkaline earth metals that are
sodium based.
Alkaline metals that are sodium based, and I think magnesium is one of them.
Right. Well, and
it seems to be more. It seems to be more stable.
But yeah, the point is that, you know, I suppose that's one of the things that I think would be beneficial for people to start to realise, and that is that the world they live in is unknowable. So why not focus on other things that can be known?
That's
but we do have we can gain some kind of true knowledge over.
Yes.
Not waste our time.
Like what makes us happy.
Like what makes us happy. What do I want in my life?
Right.
You know, let's find out who you are, who we are.
Yeah.
You know, I think that would be a good way forward, you know, for a lot of people.
So there you go.
Well, and it's also so that we're not getting stuck in these, you know, dead end roads with hamster wheels at each dead end of, okay, what manufactured supplement is going to be the best for my body, and what's going to take away this, when we realize the base elements of healing are subtraction, not addition. Take away the poisons, the body will heal itself.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no, you know, pomp and circumstance in that. It just is.
Yeah. You've reduced a lot of worry and stress.
Yeah.
And you're letting nature take more control over, or you're working with nature more.
You're working with nature. You're losing the illusion that
you're working against it.
Nature.
Yeah.
You're realizing that you are nature, and so we continue to reduce the interference of the miraculous body.
Yeah, just as a final thing for me anyway, and we spoke a little bit about individuation.
Yes.
I'm sure that Carl Jung was saying that people who haven't been individuated, they are more likely to become ill, their health will suffer, blah, 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 blah. And to be fair, I think that's absolutely true, because if you know who you are, you know your body. Yeah. So you know the limits of your body, you know the extent of what you can do with your body before it gets tired or you experience pain. A lot of people don't know who they are, so they're doing things and they don't know about their body, and they could have a lump occur on their body, but they just brush it off and they think, oh, that's nothing, and it gets worse. You know, it starts to get painful, but they're still carrying on with their life, thinking, yeah, that's nothing. But the thing is that if they knew who they were, they could do something about it.
They would do something.
They would do something about it at a very earlier point.
Well, and if they knew themselves truly, they wouldn't be engaging in things that weren't providing perfect balance for their.
Sure, yeah, absolutely, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Or if they knew themselves truly, they wouldn't get the lump in the first place.
Close. Absolutely.
You know, this is the whole point. They could avoid going to the doctors, they could avoid going to the hospital, and they can enjoy life more. They can get on with their life, as opposed to spending a lot of time waiting at doctors' surgeries.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, time is all we have.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you know, who wants to be lying in a hospital bed for like 6 months?
No.
You know, 6 months of your life. Who wants to be doing that?
That's it.
Nobody.
I wouldn't want to.
Or would you rather be kite surfing in Mozambique in?
Oh no, I wouldn't want to be doing that.
Waters. I mean, but I know myself, so that's my healing. And so instead of spending 6 months, you know, going from doctor to doctor, which I would never do, but I know if I'm getting burned out and I'm starting to feel irritated, I know I need to spend more time doing other things that I love. I love to write, but it becomes a grind if I'm doing it all the time. So it's a balance. So knowing myself, I now know I'm going to book myself a kite surfing trip. Or
yeah.
You guys might be doing something else completely different. And so that's that little X factor we talk about, the joy of life. What brings us joy?
Sure.
Yeah, but I think you know, that doing something different can make you feel better, but in some ways that can just be temporary.
Yeah,
it's a bit like going on holiday. You know, you go on holiday, you come back, you feel revived, refreshed, but it's not taking away the drudgery of the doing the.
It's not getting rid of the problem.
You know,
it's like
well, in my case, I was talking about it's a balance. So I know I don't want to spend my life kite surfing either on these holidays. So it's knowing yourself enough to know how do you engineer your life that's perfect for you. Is it 6 months of holiday? Is it 2 weeks? Do you enjoy, you know, a little mini holiday every day? That's what we have agency over. And where there's a will, there's a way. I've seen miracles happen with people that start to see their potential. You know, I had a friend that was in a horribly abusive relationship. The guy was going to kill her. She had no options, no money. She ended up getting her nursing degree, getting her master's degree, getting out of the relationship, has, you know, a life that she loves now. And it wasn't, you know, all I did was give her some books and tell her that I believed in her. And now she's illuminated from within.
Yeah, but I mean, you could actually argue that, you know, could she actually go back to her ex-husband and thank him?
Yeah,
you know, because he's actually done her a favor.
Right.
He's given her the drive.
I think you guys, when
enthusiasm to change.
Yeah, when we hit the point of wholeness, then you can go back and thank them. And that's how you know, have you completed the healing? Have you completed full circle?
But again, I think people need sometimes people need a catalyst, something to happen that kicks in the change, that helps them transform.
That's where people that have achieved that homeostasis, and it could be fleeting, but when you have achieved the joy and you have that inner light and you have that inner joy, you can spread that around.
Oh, totally, yeah. But again, it's hanging around the right people.
Yeah.
You know, that's the big thing. If you're hanging around people who are miserable, you're going to end up miserable. If you hang around people who are positive, then that's going to rub off on you as well. But
again, it goes back to what you guys keep saying over and over. If you know yourself, you're not going to force yourself to be around people that drain your energy, you're going to know.
That's right. Yeah.
You will
'Cause you
naturally.
think, no, see you later. I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want to know. Yeah, Scott,
I haven't got any time for you
Yeah, I must be
today.
going now. See you later.
Yeah, but the thing is that when you talk about it, it all sounds so simple, doesn't it?
It is simple. It's not
Yeah,
easy.
life is simple.
You know, it sounds so simple, and yet it's people that make it complicated. There was Thor Heyerdahl who did the Kon-Tiki expedition. He had a saying that went, "Man complicates simplicity,"
Mm,
and that's so true.
true.
Man just complicates everything, and he doesn't need to.
No.
I mean, I'm not. I don't want to be sexist, but I say man in a generic way. But human beings complicate simplicity.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was by design or is that innate within us, or is that something we can talk about on our next conversation?
Sounds like something on the next conversation.
All right, guys. Well, it was a pleasure speaking with both of you.
No, it's been a pleasure. Unfortunately, you haven't been able to see us.
I know. I would like to.
Next time.
Next time, then. Okay, we'll do a video
Next time.
everybody. All right, you guys. We'll have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we need to do some food as well.
Sure. Thank you, Robin, for your time.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Nice to meet you as well.
Very nice to meet you. I hope we can stay in touch.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That sounds good.
Take care.
Take care now.
Right.
Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy your Sunday.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you for joining us for another incredible episode of the Medicine Girl podcast, where our mission is to ignite the power within so you can hear your divine wisdom and follow your soul's true north. Fear is loud, peace is quiet. Listen to the softest voice. We are all walking each other home. Thank you for joining us for another incredible episode of the Medicine Girl podcast, where our mission is to ignite the power within so you can hear your divine wisdom and follow your soul's true north. Fear is loud, peace is quiet. Listen to the softest voice. We are all walking each other home.